cold wind moved across Iron Platform 7. The wind carried dust from the deep mining pit below and made a low crying sound as it passed through the metal rails. The platform stood high above the ground of Draxon. 4. A gray and rocky world far from Earth. Tall steel towers held the platform in place. Below it, machines drilled into the planet's crust day and night. Humans worked in heavy suits, moving crates, fixing cables, and guiding cargo drones. They had been on Draxon for 5 years under a trade deal with the Varkul. The Varkul were not human. They were tall, broad, and covered in dark armor that looked like part of their skin. Their eyes were narrow and bright. Their voices sounded like low growls even when they were calm. The Varkul believed they were natural predators. Across many systems, other species feared them. On Draxon, they acted as security and commanders. Humans were only workers. A cargo shuttle came down through the thick clouds and hovered above Platform 7. Its engines shook the metal floor. Workers stepped back as the landing clamps locked into place. Among the workers stood a woman named Mara. She wore a simple loading harness over her work suit. Her hair was tied back. Her hands were strong from years of lifting and repair work. She did not speak much. She did her job and went back to her small living unit at the end of every shift. A young worker stood beside her. His name was Ishan. He was new to the colony. His helmet still looked clean. He stared up at the shuttle with wide eyes. "First time seeing a full Varkul cargo ship this close," he said through the suit channel. Mara gave a small nod. "Stay clear of the landing struts. They shift without warning." The cargo bay opened with a loud hiss. Large metal crates moved out on auto rails. Humans stepped forward to guide them to storage lifts. Heavy boots struck the platform from behind. The Varkul patrol arrived. At their front walked Kor. He was taller than the others and wore layered armor plates over his shoulders. A long scar ran across the side of his face. His eyes moved slowly over the workers, as if he was studying small animals. The human workers lowered their heads slightly. It was not written in law. It was simply understood. Kor stopped near a group guiding a crate. "Move faster," he growled. "The ore schedule is behind. The lift cable is stiff from the cold. We are adjusting." Kor pushed him aside with one hand. The worker fell against a crate. "Excuses waste oxygen," Kor said. No one answered. Mara continued guiding her assigned crate into position. She did not look at Kor. She focused on lining up the magnetic clamps. Ishan worked beside her, hands shaking slightly. A loud crack echoed from the far side of the platform. A warning light flashed near the edge. One of the small rail carts had slipped from its track and tipped toward the open side. Ishan stepped back too quickly. His boot hit loose frost on the metal floor. He slipped. His body slid toward the edge rail. Beyond the rail was open air and the deep mining shaft. Fog moved slowly inside that shaft. No one could see the bottom. Ishan grabbed for the rail but missed. A few workers shouted. Kor turned his head. For a moment, he simply watched. Then he walked forward. Instead of grabbing Ishan's arm, he caught the back of the young worker's suit and pulled him upright roughly. Ishan stumbled and almost fell again. Kor laughed, a low, harsh sound. "Weak balance," he said. "Earth gravity must have made you soft." He shoved Ishan aside. The young man fell to his knees but stayed on the platform. Other humans went still. Kor's gaze shifted. It stopped on Mara. She was standing only a few steps away from the edge. She had moved closer when Ishan slipped, ready to grab him if needed. Cora walked toward her. Heavy boots rang against metal.
"You moved slow," Cor said. "If he had fallen, it would be human fault."
Her face was calm. "He did not fall," she replied. Her voice was steady and clear. The air felt tight around them. Cora stepped closer. He towered over her. "You question my words?" "No," she said. "I state a fact." A few Vakul soldiers behind Cor shifted slightly, watching with interest. Cora's eyes narrowed. Without warning, he shoved her shoulder. It was not a light push. The force should have sent her stumbling back. Her boots slid half a step. She stopped. The wind moved across the platform again, cold and sharp. Mara did not fall. She did not even grab the rail. She looked back at him. Around them, machines hummed and cargo clamps clicked into place, but the workers had gone silent. Cor seemed surprised for a brief second. Then his expression hardened. "You stand too close to restricted space," he said loudly, as if explaining to others. "Safety correction." He pushed her again, harder. This time, the shove carried clear intent. Mara's body moved back 2 steps. Her heel touched the edge rail. Below, the mining shaft breathed out cold mist. For a short second, the entire platform seemed to hold its breath. Mara did not look down. She did not show fear. Instead, she straightened. Her hand came up and caught Cor's wrist. The motion was simple. Not fast, not dramatic, just firm. Cor froze. No human had ever grabbed him like that. The metal plates on his armor creaked as he tried to pull his arm back. Her grip did not break. The Vakul soldiers stepped forward at once, claws flexing. Human workers stared in shock. Ishan slowly got to his feet, eyes wide. Cor growled, low and dangerous. "Release me," he said. Mara's voice stayed calm. "Do not push workers near the edge." The sentence was simple, clear. Cor's free hand shot forward, trying to shove her again. But this time she shifted her weight. The gravity on Draxon 4 was lighter than Earth's. Everyone knew that. Tools felt lighter. Crates were easier to lift. Humans had adjusted to it over years. But no one spoke much about what that meant. Mara turned her body slightly and pulled. Cora's balance broke. Just a little. Just enough for his boots to scrape loudly against the metal floor. Gasps came from both sides. The wind howled louder between the towers. Cor planted his feet and forced himself upright again. His strength was real. His armor was heavy. But something in his eyes had changed. Not fear. Not yet. Confusion. Mara released his wrist. The mark of her grip showed faintly against the dark armor plates. Neither of them moved for a long second. Around them, the cargo shuttle engines powered down. The lights dimmed slightly as energy shifted to storage systems. The silence spread across Platform 7 like a wave. Far above, 2 Vakul patrol ships crossed the sky. Cor slowly rolled his shoulder as if testing it. "You forget your place," he said quietly. "I remember it," Mara answered. Her eyes did not leave his. Behind her, the edge rail stood only inches away. Behind him, armed soldiers waited. The tension felt sharp enough to cut metal. One of the human supervisors, a middle-aged man named Ravi, hurried forward with careful steps. Commander Kor, he said, trying to keep his voice steady. There is no conflict here. The shift is on schedule. We appreciate your oversight. Kor did not look at him. His attention stayed on Mara. Humans are signed labor, he said, not defiance. Mara's breathing remained slow. She lowered her hands to her sides, but she did not step away from the edge. A warning alarm suddenly blinked near the cargo lift. A heavy crate was swinging slightly off balance. For a moment, no one reacted. Then Mara turned away from Kor. She walked past him as if he were nothing more than another machine on the platform. She grabbed the guide cable and pulled the crate steady with one smooth motion. The crate settled into place. The alarm light turned green. Work resumed its small, careful movements. Kor watched her back. The insult was not loud. It was quiet. That made it worse. He stepped closer again. You think low gravity makes you strong? He asked. She did not turn around. I think gravity makes everyone honest, she replied. Some of the humans did not fully understand what she meant. But Kor did not like the tone. He moved until he stood directly behind her. Only a small space separated them. The wind pushed against both of them. Below, the mining machines roared deep in the planet. Kor raised his hand again. This time, there was no excuse about safety. No explanation. Just anger. His armored palm came forward toward her back. Ah. Several workers shouted warnings. Ishan took a step forward without thinking. The Varkul soldiers tightened their circle. The moment stretched thin. The shove landed. Metal rang under their boots. Mara's body moved toward the edge rail once more, but her knees bent. Her boots gripped the floor. She did not fall. She did not cry out. She simply turned, slowly. Her face held no smile, no rage, only focus. The entire platform seemed to shrink around them. Kor's breathing grew heavier. The next move would decide everything. Above them, the patrol ships shifted course slightly, their shadows sliding across the platform. Far away in the control tower, cameras zoomed closer. Every worker on Iron Platform 7 felt it. Something had changed. The old balance was cracking, and no one knew what would happen next. The platform shivered with the vibrations of heavy machinery. Mara stood near the edge, her eyes fixed on Kor. The Varkul soldier's pride had been wounded, and he would not let it go easily. The other workers watched from a safe distance, their faces pale. Even the machines seemed quieter in the tense air, as if they too were waiting to see what would happen. Kor's eyes blazed. He had been humiliated in front of humans for the first time in his life. His strength was great, and his armor made him almost unstoppable. He raised his armored arm and pushed Mara again. He expected her to stumble and fall. That had been his plan. He had done this many times with others, and they had always been weak, always afraid. Mara did not move back. She planted her feet firmly on the metal floor. Her hands stayed calm at her sides. She looked at Kor steadily, without fear. The humans held their breath, not daring to blink. Ishan, standing behind her, felt his heart thump in his chest. The other workers whispered quietly, wondering if she could survive this. The wind swept across the platform, cold and sharp. Dust and small metal shards blew around their boots. Kor took a step forward, towering over her. His face twisted with rage. He tried to shove her again, harder this time. The force should have sent her flying. The platform was high, the edge dangerous. One misstep could mean falling into the mining shaft below. The depth was unknown, hidden in swirling fog. Machines roared in the pit far below, their sound echoing up to the platform, making the scene even more tense. Mara did not flinch. She caught Kor's wrist with one hand, her grip firm. The Vakul warrior froze. No human had ever touched him without trembling or screaming. The other Vakul soldiers shifted uneasily. They were trained to dominate humans, to remind them of their place. But this woman did not seem weak. She seemed calm, powerful, dangerous. Kor tried to pull his arm back, but Mara's grip held firm. Her body was steady, her balance perfect. The humans gasped quietly, astonished. Even Ishan could not hide his surprise. Kor's free hand lashed out, attempting to shove her again, but Mara shifted her weight slightly and used her strength in a surprising way. Her muscles, honed by years of work on heavy platforms and machinery, allowed her to lift Kor just enough to destabilize him. The platform creaked under the sudden movement. The Vakul soldiers gasped. Kor growled, low and dangerous, his eyes narrowing at her. He had expected fear, trembling, maybe even a scream. He had not expected resistance. He had certainly not expected strength. Mara's face was calm, her eyes steady. She did not speak. She let Kor realize that she had control, that she was not afraid of him. Slowly, she shifted her feet, adjusted her stance, and used the weight difference and the low gravity to her advantage. Kor's balance broke, if only slightly. His feet slid on the metal surface, armor scraping loudly. The sound echoed across the platform. The human workers stiffened, waiting to see what would happen. Mara tightened her grip, lifted slightly, and pushed. Kor tried to resist, his muscles bulging under the armor. He roared, a sound that made the other humans shiver. But Mara did not let go. She used every ounce of strength and skill she had. Slowly, carefully, she threw him off balance completely. He stumbled backward. The edge of the platform loomed behind him. For a brief, terrifying second, it seemed he might fall into the mining shaft below. Fog swirled beneath him, machines roared in the distance, and humans held their breath. Kor crashed onto a lower cargo deck instead of falling into the shaft. The metal groaned under his weight. Sparks flew from the impact. The sound was deafening. The humans gasped. Ishan's eyes widened, and he held onto the railing to keep from backing away too quickly. Kor lay there, stunned. His pride, his sense of invincibility had been shattered. He tried to rise, but the impact had left him momentarily dazed. The Vakul soldiers looked at him, their expressions a mixture of disbelief and anger. No one had ever seen Kor in such a state. He was supposed to be untouchable, unchallenged, feared by all humans. Yet here he lay, humiliated and beaten by a single human woman. The platform remained silent. The humans were cautious, still afraid, yet a new feeling stirred in them: respect. For the first time they realized that humans were not as weak as the Vakul believed. Mara stood tall, breathing evenly, her eyes scanning the platform. She did not shout. She did not celebrate. She simply held herself with quiet strength, letting the others see that she was in control. The alarm systems on the platform suddenly activated, red lights flashing as the control system detected the movement of the heavy cargo and the disturbance caused by Kor's fall. The Vakul commander's voice came over the loudspeakers, cold and sharp. He demanded answers, questioning what had happened. Humans exchanged nervous glances. No one wanted to speak first. The tension was unbearable. Mara walked back toward the center of the platform. She did not look at Kor. She focused on her work, aligning crates and checking cables. Her calm demeanor was almost more intimidating than the fight itself. Ishan followed her, still shaking, trying to understand how she had done what no one else could. Kor slowly rose from the lower cargo deck. His armor was dented, scratches visible across the plates. He was breathing heavily, anger burning in his eyes. He looked at Mara and saw something he had never seen before. Fearlessness. That fearlessness challenged everything he knew about humans. It made his blood boil. The Varkul soldiers surrounding the platform murmured among themselves. They had never seen a human handle a Varkul so directly, let alone overpower one. Their instincts told them to strike, but their training reminded them to wait for orders. The commander's voice was harsh, cutting through the tension. He demanded an explanation. He wanted a full report. The humans knew that retaliation could come at any moment, and they held their positions, waiting. Mara glanced at Kor for a brief moment. Her eyes were steady, not challenging, just factual. She had no desire for revenge. She simply would not allow harm to come to the younger workers because of arrogance and pride. That was all. The wind howled around them, carrying dust and metal shards across the platform. Machines hummed below in the mining shafts, their sounds like distant thunder. The platform seemed alive with tension. Every movement, every sound, every breath was amplified. The humans and Varkul alike could feel it. Kor finally spoke, his voice low, angry, and controlled. He threatened Mara, warning her of punishment, of the consequences of humiliating a Varkul. But Mara did not flinch. Her stance, her calm, her strength communicated a single message. She would not yield. The platform held its breath. The humans began to understand that something fundamental had shifted. The old order, where Varkul ruled and humans obeyed, was no longer absolute. Even Kor, in his anger and pride, felt a tremor of doubt. Mara returned to her work, steady and methodical, while Kor slowly regained his composure. The human workers watched in awe. The Varkul soldiers stayed alert, unsure how to respond. The air between them was heavy with anticipation. Everyone sensed that the next moments would determine the balance of power on Iron Platform 7. Above the platform, patrol ships moved cautiously, their shadows stretching across the metal surface. The control tower monitored the situation, sending urgent messages across the colony. The atmosphere was charged, as if the platform itself were alive and aware of the tension. The humans, once considered weak and expendable, were now a source of surprise and fear for the Varkul. Mara finished securing the last crate. She wiped her hands on her suit and looked around at the gathered workers and soldiers. Her calm presence was a statement in itself. She did not need to raise her voice or threaten. The sheer fact that she had overpowered Kor sent a message to everyone present. Humans were not to be underestimated. Kor, now standing fully, adjusted his damaged armor and glared at her. His pride was wounded, his authority questioned. He would not forget this moment. He would seek to restore his honor, to reclaim the dominance he had lost. The Varkul commander, watching from a distance, saw the opportunity to test the humans further. A challenge was inevitable. The human workers began to return to their tasks, but their movements were cautious, respectful. They had witnessed a moment that would change their understanding of themselves. They had seen a human capable of standing against a Varkul, a human who would not be intimidated or subdued. Whispers passed among them, stories forming quickly in their minds. Isha, still pale and shaken, looked at Mara. He wanted to ask how she had done it, but the words failed him. Instead, he simply nodded, understanding in a silent way that human strength was far greater than he had imagined. The platform continued to hum with activity, but the atmosphere was different now. Humans moved with a quiet confidence, Varkul soldiers with caution. Kor's pride and anger simmered beneath the surface, waiting for the right moment to act. Mara remained calm, a steady presence amidst the tension, ready for whatever came next. The first battle had been won with control, balance, and strength. The stage was set for a greater confrontation, one that would test not just physical power, but will and courage. The humans had shown they could rise to the challenge, and the Varkul would soon learn that underestimating them could be a grave mistake. And so, Iron Platform 7 stood in silence, the wind carrying the unspoken truth across its cold metal surface. Humans were stronger than they appeared, and the galaxy had yet to witness the full extent of their potential. Kor lay in the medical bay of the platform, his armor cracked and dented, his pride shattered. He had been a warrior feared across many worlds. Never before had he been thrown, lifted, or overpowered by a human. The Varkul medical technicians worked quickly, checking him for internal injuries and bruises, their hands careful but firm. Kor growled low, frustrated by the weakness he now felt. Even pain was new to him. The humans had not broken his body, but they had broken his confidence. Far above, the commander observed the platform through high-resolution cameras. He saw Mara moving among the crates, quietly finishing her work, as if nothing had happened. He noted the reaction of the other humans, whispers, glances of awe, quiet excitement. He saw the Varkul soldiers standing tense, unsure how to respond. Their training had never prepared them for this. Their records described humans as fragile, weak, expendable. They were supposed to obey. They were supposed to fear. Mara had shown them that these assumptions were wrong. The commander decided it was time for a direct confrontation. Mara was brought to a large room with a low ceiling, cold metal walls, and reinforced doors. She was not restrained, but the air hummed with tension. Kor had been moved here as well, contained but alert. The room had sensors and cameras on every surface. Varkul officers and human supervisors stood at the edges, silent and watching. "Explain yourself," the commander demanded in a low, growling tone that shook the air. "How did you overpower Kor?" "I did not overpower him. I used balance and timing. I acted quickly, without fear, and I did not allow harm to come to anyone else." The commander frowned. This answer was simple, but it was not satisfying. He wanted proof, evidence of her physical capability, not just explanation. A human technician stepped forward. He was an older man, quiet, skilled in the colony's engineering and systems. He held a small device connected to the platform's main database. With a few taps, he sent records to the Varkul systems. Gravity simulations, human physiology data, muscle density analysis, historical strength records. The files detailed the harsh conditions on Earth, the gravity, the physical conditioning humans evolved to endure, and the ways their bodies adapted. The commander's sensors displayed the information. Slowly, understanding dawned. The humans had evolved in conditions far more demanding than the light gravity of Draxon 4. Their muscles, bones, and reflexes were honed to survive. On this low-gravity world, their strength and control could exceed even the strongest Varkul warrior. Kor shifted in his containment field, anger mixed with disbelief. He had thought humans weak. He had never expected them to be stronger than him in certain conditions. The room remained silent. Even the other Varkul officers took a step back. The humans were cautious but confident, Mara's calm demeanor reinforced the message. They were not afraid of the Varkul, not when they understood their own strength. The commander spoke again. A public trial. You will demonstrate your abilities openly. This is the only way to restore honor and order. Mara did not speak. She understood what this meant. The platform would watch. Both humans and Varkul would witness the confrontation. Kor would challenge her, and the outcome would decide the new understanding between species. Word spread quickly across Iron Platform 7. Workers paused in their tasks, looking toward the assembly area where the trial would be held. The Varkul soldiers prepared the combat space, arranging reinforced metal floors and safety barriers. Drones hovered above, recording every angle. The platform buzzed with anticipation, the air thick with tension. Kor, still recovering from his earlier humiliation, was led to the arena. His armor was repaired, but scratches remained. His muscles were tense, his eyes burning with a mix of anger and determination. He had lost control once. He would not lose again. He had to prove that the Varkul were dominant, that humans were not to be trusted with defiance. Mara entered after him, calm and steady. Her work suit was light and flexible, allowing movement without restriction. Her hands were bare, showing her strength. She moved with quiet confidence, her eyes fixed forward. The human workers cheered quietly, silently, for the woman who had challenged a Varkul and survived. The arena was ready. Kor's steps were heavy, shaking the floor beneath him. Mara's steps were light, precise. The contrast between them was clear to everyone watching. The platform seemed to vibrate with the tension. No one dared breathe too loudly. Kor lunged first, a strike meant to intimidate and overwhelm. Mara sidestepped effortlessly, letting his momentum carry him forward. She did not attack, did not strike, only used the weight and force of his motion against him. He stumbled, his armored plates clanging loudly. The human workers gasped. This was more than skill. It was control, intelligence, understanding. Kor tried again, swinging with more force. Mara blocked, twisted, and redirected his energy. Each movement was calculated, efficient, and precise. He realized too late that he underestimated her, that the human who seemed fragile could move with calculated power. Every strike he attempted was less effective than expected. The platform vibrated with the impact of armor against metal, human against Varkul. The humans had always been underestimated, but now the truth was visible. In low gravity, they were capable of extraordinary feats. Their control and understanding of movement gave them an advantage that brute strength alone could not overcome. Kor roared, frustrated. He struck harder, faster, attempting to regain dominance. Mara did not falter. She adjusted her stance, used balance, and let his own strength work against him. Finally, she lifted him slightly, enough to throw him off balance. The metal floor beneath him cracked under the weight and force. Sparks flew. The arena gasped in unison. She stepped back, placing her foot on his chest for a brief moment. It was a gesture, not a threat. It was a statement. Control was hers, not dominance, not anger, not fear. The Varkul soldiers froze. The humans cheered quietly, but no sound could overpower the message being sent. The Varkul commander spoke. Humans are not prey. They are disciplined, strong, and controlled. They must be respected. Kor's pride was shattered. His anger remained, but he understood. Humans were not to be underestimated. He had been defeated not by fear, not by weakness, but by intelligence, strength, and skill. Mara released her hold and stepped back. She did not celebrate. She did not shout. She simply returned to a neutral stance, calm and collected. The platform remained silent for a moment longer, then slowly, humans and Varkul alike began to understand the new balance. The message was clear. Humans could not be ignored, could not be dismissed. They were capable of extraordinary strength and control, and the galaxy would need to reconsider how it treated them. Mara walked away from the arena quietly, returning to her duties, while Kor recovered, nursing pride and anger and realizing that the humans had only begun to show their potential. The trial had ended, but its impact would last. Across the platform, whispers grew into discussions. Stories of human strength spread quickly. Even the Varkul soldiers, trained to dominate, could not hide their astonishment. The humans of Iron Platform 7 had begun a new chapter, one where they were no longer just laborers, no longer just prey. They were a species capable of standing tall, capable of surprising even the greatest predators. The arena on Iron Platform 7 was prepared carefully. Heavy metal floors reinforced with extra layers of alloy covered the ground. Safety barriers lined the edges, though the height made them feel more like a suggestion than protection. Drones hovered above, recording every angle, broadcasting to cameras across the colony. The platform vibrated with anticipation as humans and Varkul gathered to witness the trial. The hum of machinery and the cold wind created a tense background, like the drumbeat before a storm. Kor stepped onto the floor first. His armor was repaired, but scratches and dents marked the earlier confrontation. Every muscle in his body was coiled, ready to strike. His eyes burned with anger and pride, and the Varkul soldiers around him tensed. Kor had to win. Losing again would be unthinkable. He roared low, a growl that vibrated through the metal floor, and raised his claws, flexing his powerful hands. Mara entered after him. She wore a simple work suit, lightweight and flexible. Her steps were measured, steady. She did not rush. She did not appear to be afraid. Humans around the arena whispered, glancing at her with awe. The soldiers, trained to dominate, were alert but cautious. The air itself seemed heavier with tension. The first movement came from Kor. He lunged, claws extended, aiming to overwhelm her. Speed and aggression were his weapons. His armor made him a near unstoppable force. But Mara did not panic. She sidestepped, moving with fluidity and balance. The low gravity of the planet made her movements precise, controlled. She guided his momentum, letting it work against him rather than resist it directly. The impact of his strikes against her parries created loud clangs of metal, echoing through the arena. Kor attacked again, faster this time, swinging with full strength. Mara blocked, twisted, and redirected. Every movement was calculated, efficient. Each strike he made was less effective than he expected. His anger grew, frustration boiling under his armor. He could not understand how a human could move with such control and strength, especially against a being far larger and heavier than them. The Varkul commander observed closely, analyzing Mara's every move. The records of human weakness were wrong. She was strong, disciplined, and quick to adapt. Her actions demonstrated intelligence and tactical thinking, not just brute strength. The other humans watched, some holding their breath, realizing for the first time that they too could possess power beyond what they had been taught to believe. Kor roared again, swinging harder and faster. Mara did not flinch. She shifted her weight, used his momentum, and allowed him to stumble. The floor beneath him groaned from the impact. Sparks flew where his claws scraped metal. The humans gasped. Kar was stunned. He had expected resistance, but not mastery of movement, not control over the flow of combat. Mara's calmness unnerved him even more than her strength. With a sudden shift, Mara lifted Kor slightly off balance. His armored plate scraped against the reinforced floor. He tried to regain control, swinging wildly, but she held her ground. A final motion, precise and controlled, sent him crashing onto the floor. The impact made a dent in the metal, and sparks scattered around his armor. The arena fell silent. Even the Varkul soldiers paused, unsure how to react. Mara placed her foot on Kor's chest, not to harm him, but to show control. She did not shout or celebrate. Her presence alone was a statement. Kor growled, pride wounded, but understood the message. He had been defeated not by fear, not by weakness, but by discipline, balance, and human strength. The Varkul commander stepped forward. His voice was calm but carried authority. Humans are not to be underestimated. They are strong, disciplined, and capable. They must be respected, not treated as weak laborers. The humans around the platform cheered quietly, their voices cautious but proud. They had witnessed a historic moment, the first time a human had bested a Varkul in open confrontation. Mara released her hold on Kor and stepped back, her posture calm, controlled, and commanding respect. Kor rose slowly, brushing sparks from his armor. His pride was wounded, but he understood. Humans were not prey. They were not weak. They were capable of surprising even the strongest Varkul warrior. The Varkul soldiers watched silently, absorbing the lesson. The humans held themselves taller, their confidence growing. They had seen the strength of one of their own, and it had changed their understanding of themselves. Mara walked away from the arena quietly, returning to her work, carrying the calm and control that had won the trial. Kor followed, nursing pride and anger, realizing that humans had only begun to show their potential. The platform returned to its normal rhythm of work, but the lesson remained clear. Humans were not to be underestimated. The galaxy would have to acknowledge their strength, intelligence, and capability. Iron Platform 7 had become the stage of a new understanding, where humans had proven they could stand tall against even the greatest predators. The tension and suspense remained, hinting that this was only the beginning of a larger story, a shift in power that would echo far beyond the platform. The platform slowly returned to its normal rhythm of work, but the change was clear in every movement, every glance. Humans carried crates with steadier steps. Varkul soldiers moved more cautiously. Mara walked among the workers quietly, her presence calm and commanding respect. The trial had ended, but its impact was only beginning. Stories of what had happened spread quickly across Iron Platform 7, whispered from one worker to another, told in small, awed voices. Humans who had once felt small and powerless now walked taller, proud of their potential. Kor was taken back to the medical bay. His armor had been dented again, and his pride suffered even more than before. He was angry, frustrated, humiliated. But he survived. He had learned a hard lesson. Humans were not to be underestimated. The Varkul commander watched him closely, understanding that Kor's attitude could no longer dictate how humans were treated. The humans were strong, capable, disciplined, and ready to face challenges the Varkul had once assumed they could not. The Varkul commander called a meeting of all colony leaders, human supervisors, and senior Varkul officers. The message was clear. Humans would no longer serve merely as low labor. They would now be partners in mining operations, treated with respect and fairness. The treaty governing labor and power distribution on Draxon 4 was revised, acknowledging human strength and skill. Across the galaxy, the news spread rapidly. Other species began re-evaluating how they treated humans. Rumors grew. On low-gravity worlds, humans were almost superhuman. Their strength and control were unmatched. Caution, respect, and fear mingled in the conversations of other races. Humans had proven that they were not to be dismissed, that their potential was vast and often hidden beneath a calm exterior. Kor recovered, but his path had changed. He would no longer act with arrogance toward humans. Instead, he was assigned to training with human instructors, learning how to understand their strength, control, and discipline. His pride was bruised, but slowly he began to respect what humans could do. The Varkul commander watched this transformation carefully, realizing that the galaxy might soon see a new era where humans were active participants in interstellar operations rather than passive laborers. Mara refused any fame or celebration. She continued to work, lifting crates and checking machinery as if nothing extraordinary had happened. Yet every worker who saw her understood the message. Humans could be strong, disciplined, and fearless. They could confront danger, act with intelligence, and emerge victorious even against the galaxy's most feared predators. The shift in power was subtle, but undeniable. Human workers walked taller, more confident, more aware of their own abilities. The Varkul soldiers approached them with caution and respect. The balance had changed, and it would not easily return to what it had been. Far above in distant star systems, other species received reports of what had occurred on Iron Platform 7. Council meetings were called. Advisors whispered warnings, and fleets were instructed to reconsider their policies toward humans. The galaxy began to notice a new reality. Humans were not to be underestimated. Their calm determination, combined with physical strength and intelligence, made them formidable. Even those who had never met a human feared what might happen if humans were underestimated in interstellar conflicts. On Draxon 4, Mara continued her work as quietly as ever. The platform hummed with activity, but humans no longer felt expendable. They felt empowered. They felt ready. Kor, having trained under human instructors, began to understand discipline, patience, and controlled strength. Slowly, respect replaced arrogance. Mara's actions had not only changed her own life and those around her, but had set a precedent for how the galaxy would see humans from now on. In the final scene, the human transport fleet left Earth, heading toward the stars. They were no longer the galaxy's weak laborers. They were prepared to show their skill, strength, and determination wherever they went. In distant councils and star systems, whispers began, "The humans appear harmless. That is the danger." Mara looked out from the transport bridge, quiet and composed. Her eyes held calm determination. She knew the galaxy had only seen a small part of what humans could do. The story was not over. It had only begun.